Okay, so in this video, what I'm going to be doing is just showing you the reason why I was upset with Hamza in the conversation that I had with him. And it was because I'd watched a video that he did with this Nigerian Christian. And the main thing that I did wrong when I went to speak to Hamza is that I didn't review these videos and actually go through what he said first. So when I went to speak to him, I wasn't that well prepared. So now what I'm going to be doing is just go through it, and we're just going to go through each of the specific lies that Hamza said in relation to the Apostle Paul. Right. So if we just start, I'm just going to start from the beginning of what. So Hamza talks very fast, so you'll have to, I'll have to be pausing this quite a lot
because he wasn't at the time. They even pulled away from the laws completely written by Paul.
Alright, so let's get this going.
Now, did Paul meet Jesus in flesh? The answer is no. Did he argue with the disciples who did meet Jesus? Yes, he argued with Barnabas.
Alright, so now, notice that Dawud said that he argued with the apostles at the Council of Jerusalem. So let's check that out. So this is the first one. So let's see if we can find the argument. All right. So it says, "A certain man which came down from Judea taught the brethren and said, Except ye be circumcised after the manner of Moses, ye cannot be saved. When therefore Paul and Barnabas had no small dissension and disputation with them, they determined that Paul and Barnabas and certain other of them should go up to Jerusalem unto the apostles and elders about this question." So this is the council at Jerusalem. So we're looking for an argument here. So remember that. So let's see. Alright, so let's see where it starts. Yeah, it says, "And when they were come to Jerusalem, they were received of the church and of the apostles and elders, and they declared all the things that God had done with them. But there arose up certain of the sect of the Pharisees which believed, saying that it was needful to circumcise them and to command them to keep the law of Moses. And the apostles and elders came together for to consider of this matter. And when there had been much disputing, Peter rose up and said unto them, Men and brethren, ye know how that a good while ago God made choice among us that the Gentiles by my mouth should hear the word of the gospel and believe." And if you just carry reading, there's nowhere where they have an argument there. Now he's going to say it's to do with when he met James after Paul came back. So we go to that. So this is Acts 21. And let's see what James says to Paul. Right. And it says, verse 7, "And when we were come to Jerusalem, the brethren received us gladly." So no argument there. "And the day following, Paul went in with us unto James, and all the elders were present. And when he had saluted them, he declared particularly what things God had wrought among the Gentiles by his ministry. And when they heard it, they glorified the Lord, and said unto him, Thou seest, brother, how many thousands of Jews there are which believe, and they are all zealous of the law." So that's not an argument either. So we can see there, that's the first lie, saying that he argued with the apostles. And Dawud saying Council of Jerusalem. So at the Council of Jerusalem, there was no argument. So Dawud is lying there. And he's going to mention about him arguing with Barnabas. And we could, alright, let's go to that as well, because Barnabas, that is Acts. Alright, so this 15 is just below here. Same for me. Yeah, so this is verse 36 of the same Acts 15. So let's see. Remember, he's arguing with Barnabas. So let's see what this argument consisted of. And it says, "And some days after, Paul said unto Barnabas, Let us go again and visit our brethren in every city where we have preached the word of the Lord, and see how they do. And Barnabas determined to take with them John, whose surname was Mark. But Paul thought that not good to take him with them, who departed from them from Pamphylia, and went not with them to the work. And the contention was so sharp between them that they departed asunder one from the other. And so Barnabas took Mark and sailed unto Cyprus." So notice here, he'll say that, oh, he's arguing with Barnabas. No. Paul didn't like the fact that John Mark, didn't come to the work. So Paul's not happy. But Barnabas wants to take him. So, because they had a disagreement, they parted company. That's not an argument. An argument is where you stand there and one person has one point, one person has the other. But as we can see, both Paul and Barnabas didn't have time for arguments. They just parted company because one decided they wanted to. Barnabas decided he wanted to go with Mark, must be because he's a good friend. And Paul didn't like the fact that Mark didn't come to the work. So it's simply a fact that Paul had a problem with Mark, not with Barnabas, but with John Mark, and they couldn't come to an agreement, and so then they just parted company. But I don't see any argument here. They just had a disagreement. So let's carry on with the lines.
James, he argued with Peter, Cephas.
Oh, he argued with James. See, that's 100% lie. There's absolutely nowhere in the Bible anywhere where Paul argues with James. That's actually impossible. So that's a blatant lie by Hamza there. I mean, he should repent for that one. I'll tell you for sure.
That's true. And his teachings are completely different. Where's the
different? Well, let's see. Is that what James said? Let's go back to it. Teachings completely different. And when he declared particularly what things God had wrought among the Gentiles by his ministry, and when they heard it, they glorified the Lord, and said unto him, Thou seest, brother, how many thousands of Jews there are which believe, and they are zealous of the law. And they are informed of thee that thou teachest all the Jews which are among the Gentiles to forsake Moses, saying that they ought not to circumcise their children, neither to walk after the customs. And now here's the thing. You can read the whole Bible. You won't find that Paul ever saying that.
disciples followed the law. They kept the kosher. They even said they say you apostatize. And
all right, now let's go to this apostatize nonsense. Remember what Hamza, let's go back to what Hamza said. He's talking so much nonsense, it's unbelievable.
They even said they say you apostatize.
Right. So no, you heard what Hamza said. They say you apostatize. Here's what was actually said. So now, let's just go. So King James says, and they are informed. So this is the same one I was read to you before. And they are informed of thee that thou teachest all the Jews which are among the Gentiles to forsake Moses, saying that they ought not to circumcise their children, neither to walk after the customs. Now you might be asking me, where does it say apostatize? Well, you see, what happened is someone read the Greek, Hamza misheard what someone was saying about the Greek, and then his mind twisted it into meaning something else. So let's actually go and see how he got confused. Let's find out. So let's go to the Greek, and alright, so it says, they have been informed now about you that apostasy you teach from Moses. Yes, see, so it's confusing because it's backwards. So it's saying they have been informed now that apostasy you teach. So they're saying that he's teaching apostasy. So if you go to what it's essentially saying, in the translation, it says, they are informed of you that thou teachest all the Jews which are among the Gentiles. So this is the apostasy word. So they're saying to apostatize Moses. So what it actually says is that he's teaching the Jews to apostatize Moses, or apostatize against Moses if you want to, because here there's the word apostian. You teach that apostasy you teach from Moses. So notice what James is saying is that Paul is teaching them to apostatize from Moses. But what did Hamza say?
They even said they say you apostatize and call the people towards away from the laws of Moses.
See, what Hamza did, he reversed the text. Hamza obviously, if you read this Greek and don't understand that this is backwards, the way that it's read, see, Hamza thinks Paul apostatized. No, he was accused of saying that the Jews should apostatize. So Hamza is just confused about the Greek. Doesn't even bother to learn Greek properly. And now trying to say that it's Paul that apostatized. No, they're accusing him of teaching that. So Hamza needs to go back and get an education about what the Greek's actually saying. So let's keep going.
So it shows here that the disciples followed the law. Now Paul comes along years after the so-called death of Jesus.
Right, so now he said so-called death of Jesus. So let's cover that one as well. So the reason why people say that is simply because they don't bother reading. So they think they can read 5 verses in the Bible, make up a load of lies, and then suddenly they can get a load of people to become Christians. Yeah, what I'm looking for is actually Luke. So I'm going to show you something. See, he says so-called death of Jesus. So let's have a look. So let's find out, did Jesus die? So this is Jesus on the road, and it says, so 15 says, and it came to pass that while they communed together and reasoned, Jesus himself drew near and went with them, and their eyes were holden that they should not know him. And he said unto them, what manner of communications are these that ye have one to another as ye walk and are sad? One of them, whose name was Cleopas, answering, said unto him, art thou only a stranger in Jerusalem, and hast not known the things which are come to pass there in these days? And he said unto them, what things? And they said unto him, concerning Jesus of Nazareth, which was a prophet mighty in deed and word before God and all the people, and how the chief priests and our rulers delivered him to be condemned to death, and have crucified or stakified him. So this word is a wrong translation. So and have put him on a stake. But we trusted that it had been he which should have redeemed Israel. And besides all this, today is the 3rd day since these things were done. So notice that they, chief priests, delivered him to be condemned to death, and have stakified him. So they're here. The reason why they're down and are sad is because this prophet who was mighty indeed, is dead. Because obviously, and actually, if you continue, so these things were done. Yeah, and certain women also of our company made us astonished, which were early at the sepulchre, and when they found not his body, so notice when someone's dead, they're a dead body. They came saying that they had all seen a vision of angels which said that he was alive. So, as you can see there, he definitely died. These guys were depressed because he was dead. So Hamza yet again saying so-called death. No, it's not so-called. It was witnessed by the people, and they know he died for sure. Alright, so... And
he starts preaching at Jesus, which he says... No, years after? Because he wasn't at the time of Jesus. This is in the times of the disciples. Hence people of the way. The way means the Christians, or the Jews that believed in Jesus. Early Christians were not Christians. They were Jews that accepted Jesus. So this word Christian, we have to be very careful. It's an anachronism. So Paul didn't meet Jesus.
Alright, so Paul didn't meet Jesus. So let's deal with that one now. So this shows you Hamza just doesn't, he can't be bothered to read his Bible properly, but thinks he can lie against it. And this is, let's just start from the beginning. It says, and Saul, yet breathing out threatenings and slaughter against the disciples of the Lord, went unto the high priest, and desired of him letters to Damascus, to the synagogues, that if he found any of this way, whether they be men or women, he might bring them bound unto Jerusalem. And as he journeyed, he came near Damascus, and suddenly there shined round about him a light from heaven. And he fell to the earth, and heard a voice saying unto him, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? And he said, Who art thou, Lord? And the Lord said unto him, I am Jesus, whom thou persecutest. It is hard for thee to kick against the pricks. And he, trembling and astonished, said, Lord, what wilt thou have me do? And the Lord said unto him, Arise, and go into the city, and it shall be told thee what thou must do. So it's interesting. What I want to know is, how can you not meet someone and have a conversation with them? Remember, this ain't my phone. It's not, it's not over the phone. It's not over the internet. And this, if it's back in the days when you had no electronics, and yet you're speaking to someone and they're replying to you, that means you met them, because you're having a direct conversation with them. And the men which journeyed with him stood speechless, hearing a voice, but seeing no man. And Saul arose from the earth, and when his eyes were opened, he saw no man, but they led him by the hand, and brought him into Damascus. And he was 3 days without sight, and neither did eat nor drink. And there was a certain disciple at Damascus named Ananias, and to him said the Lord in a vision, Ananias. And he said, Behold, I am here, Lord. And the Lord said unto him, Arise, and go into the street which is called Straight, and inquire in the house of Judas for one called Saul of Tarsus, for behold, he prayeth. And I've seen in a vision a man named Ananias coming in and putting his hand on him, that he might receive his sight. Then Ananias answered, Lord, I have heard by many of this man how much evil he hath done by the saints to thy saints at Jerusalem. And here he hath authority from the chief priests to bind all that call on thy name. But the Lord said unto him, Go thy way, for he is a chosen vessel unto me, to bear my name before the Gentiles and kings and the children of Israel. For I will show him how great things he must suffer for my name's sake. And Ananias went his way and entered into the house, and putting his hands on him, said, Brother Saul, the Lord, even Jesus, that appeared unto thee in the way, as thou camest, hath sent me that thou mightest receive thy sight and be filled with the Holy Ghost. So notice what? It says there, Jesus appeared unto thee in the way. So if someone appears unto you in the way, has a conversation with you back and forth, that means they met you. So it's simple. So let's see what Hamza said.
Argue Christian, we have to be very careful. It's anachronism. So Paul didn't meet Jesus.
So now we confirm Hamza's lying again. So let's keep going. Alright, let's see what
he argued with the disciples.
So we cleared that up. He didn't argue with the disciples. He had a separation with Barnabas, but not an argument, because it was an actual physical thing, a disagreement about a person. Arguments are when you disagree about a belief, and people do that all the time, but it's nothing to do with belief. And also, it wasn't to do with anything Paul said either. So let's just hear that again.
He argued with the disciples. The disciples held him up on it.
No, that's not true either.
He went to initially proselyte to the Jews. The Jews rejected him.
Yeah, some of them did, but not all of them.
He moved from the Jews to the Gentiles.
Okay, so let's move on. I mean, like I say, I've got a link to this video, so if you want to watch all of what he said, you can. So I don't want to use up too much time because the amount of lies he said, and it's just so much.
Moving away, and he said this unto they listen, it's really good. They beginning and the ministry of Jesus. They gave a criteria, and they chose that 12th disciple. Did they choose Paul? Even Paul, though Paul was alive, did the disciples believe Paul was a disciple of apostle?
Okay, so now he's saying that Paul wasn't chosen at the time when the apostles were chosen, or even on the day of Pentecost. So let's see. Now this is another case of Hamza not reading his Bible properly. So let's see what actually was the case. So this is Acts 7, and so if we go to 54, it says, And when they heard these things, they were cut to the heart, and they gnashed on him with their teeth. This is to do with Stephen. But he, being full of the Holy Ghost, looked up steadfastly into heaven, and saw the glory of God, and Jesus standing on the right hand of God, and said, Behold, I see the heavens opened, and the Son of Man standing on the right hand of God. And then they cried out with a loud voice, and stopped their ears, and ran upon him with one accord. And they cast him out of the city, and stoned him. And the witnesses laid down their clothes at a young man's feet, whose name was Saul. So remember, at this point, Saul is a young man, so he's not even anywhere close to doing anything what he's doing later on. Because what you have to understand is the book of Acts takes quite a few years to actually go through, it lasts for quite a long time. And so we see here that at this point, this is in Acts 6, where Peter's already an old man, and all the apostles are older as well. And yet Saul, see, it's a young man's feet whose name was Saul, so he's just a young man at the time. And here's the important thing. If they're calling him a young man, he's not 30 yet. And if he's not 30, he will not be out of the correct age to be an apostle anyway. He's got to at least be 30 in order to be able to, because that's how it works in the priesthood, because obviously an apostle is going to be above the level of a bishop, and the bishop is like a priest. So being a young man, that means he's 20, 25, but he's not more than 25, you could say, maximum. But he's still young as far as they're concerned, so he's not doing anything in an official capacity at this point. And this is in Acts 7. Then we got Acts 8. And then Acts 9 is when Paul is actually doing what he's doing. So that's just 2 chapters, and Paul has grown up so much. And this shows you how a lot of time has passed by. So Paul was actually, at the time of when Hamza's talking about, Paul was basically too young to be an apostle. It's as simple as that.
No, they chose Matthias.
Yeah, because Paul was a kid, so they had to choose Matthias.
Read the Bible.
Hamza,
Did you get it?
I get what you're saying, boys.
Alright, let's just move on.
So what you say, he lost his eyes. He knows who Paul is, right?
Who's telling the story?
In the Bible.
Who's telling the story? Paul is telling the story that
the story.
Jesus sent Ananias to him, and we should.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing, is that we know Acts is written by Luke, and so I don't know why he said it was Paul telling the story, because it's only when Paul explains later on in Acts where Paul actually recounts the story to I think it's in Acts 25 or 26. That's when it's Paul telling the story, but in the early stories in Acts it's actually Luke, or Luke's the one who wrote it anyway.
Hold on, so
did you see the problem?
No, I didn't see the problem.
But you see the problem.
Alright, yeah, so they're just I think they're just going to argue about nothing much.
Of course, he could lie. The truth is abounded. Why do you judge me as a sinner?
Okay.
Do you understand that point?
As a Muslim,
lie. Of course, he could lie. He said, "If by my lie the truth is abounded." What's it? The understanding that Paul does not lie needs to come out doing that.
Hold on.
Paul says in his own words, "If by my lie the truth is abounded, why do you judge me as a sinner?"
Okay.
Right. So that's I've done this one with Lamin already, but this is something that the Muslims like to use because they think they're clever. Just see which one to use. Alright, let's go to... So that's actually Romans... I'm trying to remember which one it is now. It's going to be 1, 2, or 3 anyway. No, it's not 1, sorry. Yeah, so remember what he said about... Alright, let's hear what Hamza's saying.
Lie, the truth is, Paul does not lie needs to come out doing that.
Hold on.
Paul says in his own words, "If by my lie the truth is abounded, why do you judge me as a sinner?"
Okay.
Right, so remember, he's saying that's what Paul is saying. So let's see. So this is verse 7 he's quoting. He says, "For if the truth of God hath more abounded through my lie unto his glory, why yet am I also judged as a sinner?" So now, here's where we find out. Now this is just Hamza being ignorant, but he's lying through his ignorance. So let's go from verse 1. He says, "What advantage then hath the Jew, or what profit is there of circumcision? Much every way, chiefly because that unto them were committed the oracles of God. For what if some did not believe? Shall their unbelief make the faith of God without effect? God forbid, yea, let God be true, but every man, including Hamza, a liar. As it is written, that thou mightest be justified in thy sayings, and mightest overcome when thou art judged. But if our righteousness commends the righteousness of God, what shall we say? Is God unrighteous, who taketh vengeance? I speak as a man. God forbid, for then how shall God judge the world? For if the truth of God hath more abounded through my lie unto his glory, why yet am I also judged as a sinner? And not rather as we be slanderously reported, and as some affirm that we say, let us do evil, that good may come, whose damnation is just. What then? Are we better than they? No, in no wise, for we have before proved both Jews and Gentiles that they are all under sin." So notice, the important bit is that, notice he says here, "I speak as a man." So what it is, he's given an example. And so all Hamza's done is ignored this part where it says, "I speak as a man." And then it gets to this part and saying, oh, Paul is saying that he lies. But here's the problem. If you really are a liar, are you going to tell someone that you're a liar? That makes no sense. Because then if you're a liar and you tell someone you lied, then that means you're telling the truth. I know it's a bit confusing. But this is what Hamza doesn't understand, that people who are liars don't say that they're lying. That just doesn't happen. So if Paul's saying he's lying, he's saying it for a reason, and you have to use your brain to work out why. But you can tell Hamza just doesn't want to do that. So let's go to the next one.
Okay.
Do you understand that point?
As a Muslim, if you said he's lying, it's fine. Hold on.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, I know. Well, he says as a Muslim, of course Muslims like to lie so much, they just accuse everyone else of lying as well.
As a Christian, he said he's lying.
Peter admits.
No, Paul didn't say he was lying. Paul is giving an example. He didn't say he was lying. And here's the thing. If Paul said he was lying, he'd explain what he was lying about. But no one's ever accused him of lying in the Bible. That's the thing.
Yes, and Peter and Paul stood up to Peter in his face because of his hypocrisy.
Hold on. I said, did they meet?
Yes, I Christians, since they kept the Sabbath, they kept the kosher, they kept this everything. The first disciples of Jesus, they did not accept Paul as an apostle or disciple.
Initially.
No, not initially.
What do you mean not initially? All right, let's go to that one. My man, yeah, the Nigerian guy just didn't understand some of it. But so we just go to Acts. All right, so this 26. And when Saul was come to Jerusalem, he essayed to join himself to the disciples, but they were afraid of him. They were all afraid of him, and believed not that he was a disciple. So that's what Hamza is talking about. But Barnabas took him and brought him to the apostles, and declared unto them how he had seen the Lord in the way, and that he had spoken to him, and how he had preached boldly at Damascus in the name of Jesus. So notice Barnabas isn't afraid. So let's see what Hamza said again.
Disciples of Jesus, they did not accept Paul as an apostle or disciple.
Yes. All right. So what happened afterwards?
No, not initially. Because in the Council of Jerusalem in the year 50 AD, do you recall? James, who was a pillar of the church, the three pillars of the church. There's James. Who else are the other two? Peter and John. No problem. James. These are the pillars of the church. And Paul doesn't like them. He calls them fake apostles or...
Really? Yeah, you see, this is a problem. I would have asked Hamza to give me that verse, but because I hadn't reviewed the video properly, that's why I should have asked him to substantiate that particular one. But I know Hamza hasn't been at Speaker's Corner a while, but maybe he's been told to run away as well, like some of these other Dawah guys.
Yeah. Sarcastically, he says, super apostles. You read...
He's talking rubbish. I can't bother to go into this because it'd just take too long, but I'll just let him talk his nonsense.
The language, he's getting very frustrated.
Do you know about this conflict?
Do you know?
Yeah, anyway, there was no conflict. As I just read to you that there isn't a conflict at any of the councils.
So you know about, so he was summoned by James, who's the head of the church. James, who's supposed to be the brother of...
Yeah, okay, let's get past this rubbish. So, 26, yeah, actually, I think that's it. That's it for this particular part. If you want to listen to any more of his nonsense, you can just go to the link to the original video and just watch it yourself. Let's go to the next part. Let's get rid of this nonsense.
Jesus taught connected to
the place in with Paul.
And Acts of the Apostles. This is what's called Acts of the Apostles. Who do you think is going to be the main characters in Acts of the Apostles?
Peter, obviously.
Let's go.
The Apostles, right? But no, it is Paul. And
see the rubbish. So he says it is a main character. So see the thing is Acts. All right. So let's check this out. Acts 9. Paul gets. That's when Paul gets converted. And yeah. So if you go here, because look, it says 25 says then the disciples took him by night and let him down by the wall in a basket. So well, they're not scared of him there, are they? Spoke baiting him. They brought him to seriously important Tarsus. Right. So notice he's talking about Paul there. But when you get to verse 32, it says, now he comes to Peter. So Peter's back again. And hint of verse 6, yeah, so this is a leader. So now, Acts 10, and notice it says here, now sent men to drop off one called Simon, whose surname is Peter. So Peter is still the one who he's talking about. And even though Paul has been introduced, we go back to Peter again. And all this is Peter. Then if you read through Acts 11, that's Peter as well. And then if we read through Acts 12, then we says Peter therefore kept in prison. So it's Peter again. So notice that up until Acts 12, from 1 to 12, Peter is the main character. So what Hamza is saying is, yet again, it's just more nonsense. Because he just doesn't want to read so he thinks that he can not read the Bible and then just lie against it. And this is typical for Muslim Dawah. They think that the lying that they do is somehow gives them the power to overcome the Christians, because we can lie so amazingly.
Paul did not come to count it for 4. It has took 27 books of the New Testament. Why is it Paul, who's not an eyewitness?
This is written by the Victorians.
It was written by the Victorians. Paul took the message of Jesus, which was a Jewish message, and then took it to the Gentiles. And that's why his books are included in today's New Testament. It makes up half of the book. This has...
But that's the thing. He's complaining there. But you notice that... But anyway, I think he's just talking more nonsense here. So I'm going to go to the next one.
No.
That's my point.
Gentiles to benefit this
from...
Or what you did in particular so well was he really rocked Paul.
Hold on.
Yes, so notice what Dawud is saying there. He's saying that he rocked Paul. But I just showed you that he was lying about Paul. So if Dawud thinks Hamza rocked Paul, that means Dawud has no clue about the Bible either. Because if Hamza can tell so many lies, as we've shown, then all that lying that he's doing amounts to nothing. So Hamza didn't rock anything.
And we haven't even gone there. So I don't know.
Well, they went, I don't know. Let's carry on.
Jesus Christ didn't tell them to preach.
4 gospels, but we have an addition of your Mark. They say Mark was the earliest gospel written in the year around year 70, yeah. And Matthew and Luke are written in the year 80 after Mark. They say that Matthew and Luke copied from Mark. So you will.
Right. So this is another thing: is that if you actually read the Bible, you'll notice that they have events which are similar, but if you have like 3 witnesses and they go to the same, they write about the same event, then yeah, you could say they copied from each other because the event is the same. But if you actually read the Bible, you notice that what they're saying is completely different. So I'm not sure why. I'm not going to do it myself because it would take too long, but anyone can just read and see that the text is different. So it's 3 different witnesses who are copying the events, but not the text, because then the text would be the same if they copied from each other, but it isn't.
Find everything in Matthew and Luke is found in Mark, but the problem...
Okay, just he's talking more nonsense there. So let's just get to the end. I just want to show you this last bit.
Why? Yeah, take what you got.
We was in the Quran.
Alright, so just want to show you this.
Hello?
So Hamza gets a call, and... So notice they're transferring the mics over to Dawud. So now, obviously Hamza. So now you'd think that, well, since the conversation is continuing, and Dawud's a Muslim, you'd think that they would carry on. But here's the important thing to remember is that Hamza obviously hasn't got dark skin, but Dawud's got. Notice he's putting the microphone. He's got all the microphones on him, but remember Dawud's got dark skin, and this Christian's got dark skin as well. So what do you think the Muslims are going to do? They're going to cut the video. That's what Muslims do. They're not interested in people with dark skins having conversations. They will just cut the... And the easiest way to know is... let me just check something. Because this one I think was about SF Dawah, if I remember correctly. So I just want to quickly show you this, because this is the thing about these Muslims. You wonder, why do they sing... They say how they're, we like, they're so good to the African people, whatever. So what we're going to do is we're going to see if we can find how much dark skins we see on the Muslim side. That's what we're looking for. Okay, dark skinned Muslim, come on, we need to find one. Where is a dark skinned Muslim? Let's see. Okay, he's a dark skinned Muslim, but he's not talking. Come on, dark skinned Muslim. They must let one. Okay, he's a Muslim, but notice he's not talking. It's actually Yusuf who's talking there. So come on, dark skinned Muslim, you need to find a Muslim with dark skin. Now remember, if you go to Speaker's Corner, there's loads of Muslims with dark skin, believe me. They're all over the place. And, okay, so that's one, that's Abdullah there. It's only a quick 8-minute video, so there's nothing, so they do want to speak for too long. So let's see, dark skinned Muslim, come on, dark skinned Muslim, where is it? Sure, what is, alright, no, he's a Christian. Come on, we're looking for a dark-skinned Muslim, remember? Because, okay, we got Hamza here, he's one. So far we got 2. Hamza's actually talking, so that's one dark-skinned Muslim that actually gets to talk on these SF Dawah videos. So we're trying to find another dark-skinned Muslim actually getting to talk. Okay, Hamza again there, so that's still one Muslim. Let's see if we can find a second Muslim with dark skin. It's Hamza again, so that's still one. So remember, we're looking for a second Muslim with dark skin who these racist guys allow to actually speak on their camera. Because remember what they did to Dawud. As soon as Dawud was getting ready to go on, they just cut him off. So we're going to keep going. So remember, Hamza is the one dark-skinned Muslim we found who they let speak. And we're looking for this next... Oh yeah, I forgot. And Abdullah as well. He's the second dark-skinned Muslim. So that's two so far. So, you know, a world with 8,000 million people and they managed to find two dark-skinned Muslims. That's amazing, isn't it? So we've got two there now. So we keep going. Remember, we're not going to stop until I find a third dark-skinned Muslim who they allow to speak on with their microphones. So all we want is one more dark-skinned Muslim. Even if we've got to sit here all night, I'm going to scroll down. And as soon as we find that third dark-skinned Muslim, then we're out of here. So let's keep going. This could take a long time, man. Come on, we need that third dark-skinned Muslim. Come on, where? Come on. Just give us that third one. As soon as we can find him, then we can just leave this behind. Come on. Nope, he's a Christian. He's Christian. Nope, still no third dark-skinned Muslim. I mean, this is terrible. Siraj doesn't count. No, it's got to be one of our guys. I'm not interested in anyone else. So Hamza's one of our guys and Abdullah's one of our guys. So there just needs to be one more dark-skinned Muslim. Well, he is, but he's not talking though. That's the thing. Because he doesn't like to be on camera. So he said no cameras to me. So he doesn't count. It's got to be someone who let me film him. So let's see. Remember, we just need one more dark-skinned Muslim who they let actually use. They will let him speak on their microphone. That's all we're looking for. Come on, dark-skinned Muslim number 3. Where is he? You know, this is getting too tiring. I have this feeling, man, it's going to be too difficult finding this third Muslim, man, with dark skin, because these guys are so racist, man. That it's just too hard sometimes. Alright, so these guys, yeah, I think I'm going to officially call it a day on these guys. Now, see, that's Hamza again, so he's still number 2. We need a third dark-skinned Muslim. Alright, so let's try. Alright, we'll keep going for a year. Once it gets to 1 year, we'll give up. So, because remember, we're going to find the third... Oh, Lamin, alright. So he's the third dark-skinned Muslim. Okay, finally. So we can call it a day now. But the interesting thing is that Lamin was 4 months ago. But you'll notice the interesting thing is that Lamin's disappeared. So finally, Lamin stopped us from having to torture ourselves scrolling through this nonsense. But as you can see, when it comes to... This is just to do with the last... Right at the end of the video where they cut Dawud off. I'm not showing you the reason why they cut him off. It's because this is what these Muslims are about. These Dawah Muslims especially. They will keep saying, we're not racist, but their actions show that how racist they are. That's the important thing. So just keep watching them and look at who they give the microphone to speak. And it won't be our guys. Especially most of the time. And even though they let Abdullah speak a couple of times, try and find him on any other channels appearing a lot of times. No, hardly. They just want to stick to their own guys because of what they think of our people.
Oh, you okay?
Yeah.
How's your day going? Good?
Yeah, that's alright.
You know, last week, was it last week?
Yeah.
You remember you approached me and you said liar. Do you remember?
Yeah.
That's the only thing I wasn't really... And you're a very gentle person. You're a very gentle person. But it's, you know, when you call someone liar, it's not a good way of introducing yourself. Christian or Muslim or Hebrew, whatever, you know what I mean? You're a gentle person, you know this, you get it?
Well, I didn't say lie, I just said lie about the Apostle. So it's specific.
You're like
about the Apostle Paul.
You know Paperboy?
Yeah.
You're very, very similar to Paperboy. And the Paperboy is like my friend, but even though we have like heated debates and discussions, but yeah, that statement was a bit. But I know you have a good day.
Yeah, alright. Israelites will return to take down Islam.